On this typical Northwest balmy spring edition of Inside Bellingham, if you drive a car or if you ride a bike, you'll want to hear about the rules of the road. And you know the difference between natives and exotics in our town? And emergency preparedness, what does it mean? And why do we need to think about it here in the good old Northwest? And it's spring, so we're going to hit the trails. Dogs, bikes, baby carriages, runners. It can be a jungle out there. We have some tips. All this and a fortune of information more right here on Inside Bellingham. Hi, and welcome to Inside Bellingham. I'm Doug Waldo, and this is Bellingham's Guide Meridian Cordata neighborhood. It is also Bellingham's most visited neighborhood. Annexed to Bellingham in the 1990s, the Guide Meridian Cordata neighborhood is one of the fastest growing and most popular areas of the city. In the 2000 census, about 3,200 people listed this neighborhood as home. That number is certainly higher today as residential development continues in Cordata. The Cordata portion of the neighborhood was originally developed as a suburban business park with green belts and tree-lined streets. The Whatcom Community College campus occupies a considerable presence in the neighborhood. Trails and green belts are planned here, and more parks and other recreational opportunities are needed in this rapidly growing area. Residents of this neighborhood are working closely with the city to strengthen their neighborhood connections and make sure their interests are represented. If you live in the Guide Meridian Cordata neighborhood, you might want to get involved. Leaders involved in this neighborhood and in all the city's neighborhoods want to engage as many people as possible to achieve their neighborhood's goals. For more information about how to get in touch with your neighborhood association, contact the mayor's office at 676-6979 or visit the city's website at www.cob.org and look for neighborhood services. Our community continues to be a national leader in supporting green power. That is, power that is generated by clean, renewable resources, such as the sun, which is up there somewhere, and the wind. And get this, at an Earth Day celebration on April 21st, Bellingham was honored as the most successful green power community in the entire United States of America. How about that? Bellingham qualified for this recognition by purchasing 76 million kilowatt hours of green power, which accounts for over 11% of the community's total electricity load. That's enough electricity to light over 6,300 homes. Also, nearly 2,000 households and 110 businesses are purchasing green power, thanks to the partnership and commitment of the local business community, city residents, and local governments.
A year ago, Derek Long, right there, raise your hand, Derek, yes, he noticed that although Western Washington University students had voted themselves to go 100% renewable energy, Olympia was still the leading community in the whole state in percentage of how much green power was being purchased, and he thought there's something wrong with that. We have a community of leaders. We have a government that cares about this. We have 500 plus businesses that care deeply about this, and you all as citizens, this is really your core ethic. We approached Puget Sound Energy in the city of Bellingham and together formed a partnership to start a Green Power Community Challenge. We kicked off this campaign 6 months ago, right here at the Depot Market Square, and our first initial goal was simply to move the percentage of electricity consumed in this community outside of Western from 0.6% coming from renewable sources to 2%. by Earth Day this weekend. With the leadership of Western Washington University, the City of Bellingham, the County of Whatcom, hundreds of businesses and hundreds of households, we actually quadrupled the initial goal.
Since you've set the pace, there are others who are watching you. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and tell you who it is. Those communities and cities know who they are. And as you've greened up, there are a number of folks who are, shall I say, green with envy. So one of the things I want to let you know is that although you have set the stage and you've set the pace, there are those who are looking to even exceed what you've done here today.
25 million kilowatt hours a year will be purchased by the City of Bellingham in this way. 13,000 tons of carbon dioxide will be offset by what we're doing. The burden really in the end is on each of our individual shoulders because we are the consumers of energy. We are the people whose lifestyles can make a difference. So we in Bellingham are simply not going to sit on our thumbs waiting for the federal government to give further direction about what we should do. We're off our thumbs doing things like we're recognizing today. Congratulate all of the neighborhoods, many of which are represented here today.
Fairhaven neighborhood. Congratulations.
Is the Central Business District. So, Kirsten, would you come forward, please? The Columbia neighborhood.
For more information about how you can sign up to purchase green power, contact Puget Sound Energy at www.pse.com. Right now we're at the Whatcom Community College, which is a beautiful place to go to school. If a catastrophic emergency, like say a major earthquake, occurred today, would you be prepared? Do you have several days of food and water stored? Do you have some cash stashed someplace other than your bank? Are you and your family prepared to ride out an emergency until help can arrive, which may take several days? We have two reports in this show about emergency preparedness. The first is from Andy Day, Bellingham's Assistant Fire Chief. He is responsible for making sure the city is as prepared as possible for any kind of disaster.
The City of Bellingham does an outstanding job at responding to and managing everyday emergencies such as structure fires, car crashes, and snowstorms. However, in the case of a community-wide large-scale disaster, city resources will be quickly overwhelmed. Our job as emergency managers is to organize and prepare community resources and partners to ensure effective disaster response and recovery. We are especially focused in helping individuals, families, and neighborhoods to prepare for disasters of every kind. Specific steps we are taking this year include organizing and testing the capabilities of city government to manage a disaster. In addition to what you might normally think of as your emergency response agencies, police, fire, and public works, every city department will play a role in a major emergency. Developing effective working relationships with a network of community agencies that have a role in disaster management, including Whatcom County, the Red Cross, St. Joseph Hospital, and ham radio operators. Working closely with the neighborhood associations, providing training and resources to improve the level of preparedness for individuals and families. One of our key partners is the new Emergency Management degree program at WWU's Huxley College. This partnership provides real-life learning opportunities for students and access to a wealth of research and human resources for the city. Another important partner is the Bellingham Food Bank. The city is providing funding for much-needed improvements to the food bank so that the building is equipped to serve as a point of distribution for food and supplies during a disaster. In the past, the City of Bellingham contracted with Whatcom County for emergency management services. However, like most Washington cities of our size, city officials realized that the effectiveness of emergency management services is closely linked to the level of responsibility and leadership exercised. City Council approved the addition of new public safety positions as well as upgrades to city facilities to support its vital effort. We continue to work with Whatcom County to ensure that emergency management services are available to all, countywide. We wish disasters wouldn't happen, but we know they will. We are committed to making sure that Bellingham will be prepared. Experience from disasters around the world has shown that those who prepare for the worst fare the best when disaster strikes.
For more information about city emergency management, contact the Office of Emergency Management at 676-6867. In spite of all the measures the city is taking to prepare for emergencies, we can't expect government to reach everyone at once in a disaster. As Brian Flannelly shows us, the best emergency preparedness begins at home.
The topic of disasters and their aftermath has been in the news quite a bit in recent years. We tend to think of these as big events in faraway places. What are the chances we might end up back in the headlines again? One of the first steps in preparing for a disaster is to recognize the risk factors that exist in our community. And here in Bellingham, you don't have to look too far to find them. Every day, an unknown quantity of hazardous materials pass through our community on trucks, railroad tankers, and in pipelines beneath our feet. The threat of terrorism should be considered, along with our proximity to an international border and the upcoming Olympic Games. Natural disasters have to be planned for as well. We're already familiar with the effects of floods, windstorms, and heavy snowfall here in the Northwest. But in addition, we do live in a known earthquake hazard zone, and a significant number of our older buildings sit on fill material, which is subject to liquefaction in the event of an earthquake. A major geologic fault lies just offshore of Vancouver Island, with an unknown potential for causing a tsunami wave. And every community will be affected if another worldwide flu pandemic strikes. If you really think about all these disasters, it can be overwhelming. But is that a reason to panic? No, of course not. But it's equally unrealistic to ignore the dangers or to assume somebody else will plan for them. By definition, a disaster is an overwhelming event. And the very first groups that will be overwhelmed are those who provide law enforcement, fire protection, emergency medical services, and 911 dispatching. This has been a common element in all recent disasters. We would like to be everywhere, helping everyone, but that just isn't possible. In the event of a disaster, we have to go where we can do the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people. And that means we might not be able to help you for quite a while. So what does that mean for you and your family? First, plan on being self-sufficient for at least 3 days. Have enough food, drinking water, warm clothing, and medical supplies on hand to carry you through. Second, get to know your neighbors. Join a neighborhood association. Find out who might need an extra hand in the event of an emergency. After all, despite the best efforts of your public safety personnel, in the immediate aftermath of a disaster, your neighbors will probably be your best source of help. We all hope that our community will be spared from the effects of a major disaster. But wishful thinking is not a good substitute for good preparation. The small steps you take now may have a big payoff for your family later on.
You can find out more about preparing your home and your family for a major disaster, including handy checklists and other helpful tools, by visiting www.cob.org/fire. You know, folks in Bellingham just love gardening. Take a walk around any neighborhood and you're bound to see people outside planting, weeding, mowing, or just relaxing in their gardens. Native Northwest plants are an interesting alternative to more exotic plants that are often planted in gardens here. Oh, you think native plants are boring? Well, here's Kim Spence to change your mind.
Hi, Bay.
Hi, Kim.
Hey, I live in the Lake Whatcom watershed, and my neighbor referred me to your nursery here. She said that you have native plants. So what is the big talk about native plants and why they're good for water quality?
Well, they generally don't need a lot of attention, chemical fertilizers or, fungicide, or they've grown up around here and they don't get a lot of diseases usually. And once they're established, they don't really need to be watered. If they're, have the right plant in the right place, then they just thrive on their own.
So I'm looking to start, I don't have anything in my yard right now, and I'm looking for something that's kind of easy and fills in some spaces. What do you recommend?
Well, for just a little bit of showy little color, we've got these shooting stars.
Oh my gosh.
And,
this is a native plant?
That's a native plant, yeah. It grows in the prairies and the balds in Washington and the San Juans and eastern Washington. And it's just one of our many native wildflowers that do well and definitely would around the lake.
Very nice. I like it. I didn't know that native plants were so gorgeous.
They can be if you, treat them right and put them in the right spot. They can just kind of take off all by themselves.
And then this other plant you have is
this is called Acer glabrum variety Douglasii, and it's basically called Rocky Mountain maple or Douglas maple.
Oh.
And it's the third native maple that we have in western Washington. Most people know bigleaf maple and vine maple, and it's a good plant for urban use because it doesn't get huge like a big leaf maple, and it'll take full sun and really poor soils.
That's probably perfect for around here.
Yeah, and you just about never have to water this once it gets established. Put the right plant in the right place and it'll take care of itself.
That's a bonus. Hey, Shelley.
Hi, Kim. What brings you to the garden spot?
Well, I've been out today learning about native plants, and I thought I'd stop to see if you have any here.
We do. We have lots of them.
I'd love to see them. Can you show me?
Yeah, come on this way.
All right.
This is ocean spray, and it's deciduous, so it's just getting its new leaves out now. They will get bigger. They'll be about an inch long when they're mature. This plant blooms in June with creamy clusters of flowers, very much like a lilac. Then the flowers stay on the plant and they dry up on the plant. And over the winter, there's dried up little flowers here, and many birds will come and eat the seeds. You can see ocean spray filled with hundreds of bush tits in the wintertime.
And what's the other little one?
This is a little ground cover for shade. It's called bunchberry. You've seen dogwood trees. This is a dogwood, but it's a little ground dogwood.
That's what it reminds me of, absolutely.
And these are the little baby flowers. They start out kind of a creamy greenish color. They'll get larger, about the size of a dime, and they'll get white color, and then they'll get little red berries in the center.
Oh, they're both very nice. I'll take them.
Hi, Kim.
Wally?
It's good to see you again. Welcome to the gardens at Padden Creek.
Thanks. You know, I'm interested in native plants. Do you have anything here?
I've got two of my favorites I could go introduce you to.
Let's do that.
Come on, follow me. Look at these. These are the ones I was telling you about, Kim. This one here, this is Ribes sanguineum. And Ribes sanguineum is a native flowering currant. This works for so many different reasons in our gardens. First, we get this wonderful reddish color. Sanguineum means blood red. What we're looking at here is a plant that will take either sun or shade. It goes either way. And in the sun, we get that rich red fall color. In the shade, we get a golden yellow color. And then this one here we're looking at, this is the native vine maple, Acer circeratum. And we're talking a plant that gets about 20 feet tall. It's an understory tree.
So what color does this get fall?
It depends on where you've planted it. If you've got it in good sun, then we're talking a very brilliant red fall color. If you've got it in more shade than sun, then we're talking it turns to a beautiful golden color.
I like it. I like it.
You can learn more about plants that are native to our area and see some splendid examples by visiting the Washington Native Plant Society's website at www.wnps.org. We really enjoy our community trails here in Bellingham. Warm or cold, sunny or rainy, people get outside and use trails to ride, walk, run, play, exercise, or just get outside and have fun away from cars and streets. A trail is a wonderful addition to any neighborhood, but sometimes, not always, just sometimes, people don't share trails in a respectful way. So, the Parks and Recreation Department has adopted a set of guidelines to encourage people to use trails in a polite fashion. Ira Hyman is an avid trail user, and he is also a member of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, which helped draft these guidelines. Now, we asked him why a set of trail etiquette guidelines are important.
Well, our goal is to encourage everybody to share the trail. We're trying to help everybody who uses the trails be safe and considerate of each other. Well, the basic idea is when you're out on the trails, first of all, to stay to the right side. The second goal is to stay safe and to stay considerate. So for bicyclists, since I bike a lot, part of the basic goal for a bicyclist is to first, when you're coming behind somebody, to call out or notify them so that they know you're overtaking and passing them. Say, passing on your right, or if you have a bell, to ring your bell. In addition, for pedestrians or joggers, if you're walking around with your iPod in, you want to make sure that it's at a volume where you can hear other people if they're overtaking you and call out to you. The other goal for a bicycler like myself is that you should travel at a reasonable speed on the trails. And oftentimes that means slowing down. It means going at a pace so that you're not zipping by people and you're not putting other people at risk. And so if it's really crowded or if it's a smaller trail, you have to go slower. So even if you, as a bicyclist, know that you're traveling safely and you're going to avoid people, sometimes you slow down so that they feel safe. Even as you, and we have dogs, if you're out walking your dogs, you know your dog is friendly, but it should be on a leash and it should be close to you when you're passing other people so that they feel safe, so that they don't feel threatened by your dog. And it's also for the safety of the dog. If I'm on a bicycle, I'm going to slow down if I'm approaching you and your dog. But if your dog moves suddenly, I would hate to, hit somebody's dog on a bicycle. That would be an awful experience for all of us. So it's a question of treating others and treating the environment with respect when we're out there. The other sort of basic etiquette rule on the trails that I don't think I've mentioned is that it's always nice to say hi to your neighbors. As you're out there walking along, that's one of the great experiences is that you see your friends, you see the people who live near you. And so, not just be considerate and share the trails, but say hi when you're out there.
If you'd like to see the entire set of trail etiquette guidelines, you can find them and a lot more information about parks and trails at www.cob.org/parks. Speaking of sharing, it's that time of year again when people start pedaling to their destinations instead of driving. Now that also means drivers and cyclists need to be mindful of one another, sharing the road wisely and respectfully. So, we want to tell you about the city's Share the Road campaign. Kim Brown is the city's transportation options coordinator, and she's going to show you some of those tricky situations between cars and bikes and how we can all work together to avoid car-bike conflicts.
To ensure that Bellingham is bike-friendly and car-friendly too, the city has started a campaign to help ease confusion between motorists and cyclists. A common misunderstanding is where exactly should bikes ride? Cyclists should ride as far to the right as it is safe. That means use any part of a traffic lane if they need to for safety, when preparing to turn, or when traveling at the speed of traffic. Motorists should give cyclists a minimum of 3 feet of space when passing. If it isn't safe to pass, slow down and let the cyclist have the right of way. It is legal for cyclists to ride 2 abreast. Although in higher traffic conditions, such as downtown, it is safest to ride single file. Most crashes between cars and bikes happen at intersections, such as when a motorist turns right or left and cuts off a cyclist. Motorists need to yield to bicyclists just as they do to cars. When turning right, motorists need to slow down and merge behind a cyclist who is already ahead of them or beside them. Cyclists must also yield to other vehicles when turning, and stop and yield to cross traffic at stop signs. When cyclists run red lights or blow through stop signs, not only are they putting themselves and others in danger, drivers are less likely to respect bicyclists' right to use the roadway. By city municipal code, it's illegal to ride a bicycle on the sidewalk in downtown Bellingham and downtown Fairhaven. Bicyclists should hop off and walk their bikes if they want to be on the sidewalk. By law, cyclists are required to have a white front light and a red rear reflector when riding at night. It's also a good idea for cyclists to wear bright clothing and reflective gear at all times of the day. As the weather gets warmer, our streets will get even busier. In June, the city will be stepping up enforcement of traffic laws. Sergeant David Richards with the Bellingham Police Department tells us what we need to know now.
We have not traditionally been very harsh traffic-wise on bicycle riders. It's kind of live and let live. And I learned at a conference a couple years ago that that's not good for us in law enforcement to allow that situation to exist. What it does is it just develops a terrible sense of right and wrong between the two groups, the riders and the drivers. And so what I have done, I've talked to our staff and we've agreed that in June we're going to step up our bicycle violation enforcement. So that means both on drivers who commit those cutoff violations or not giving enough safety lane violations, and the bicycle riders who fail to stop.
Oh, sir, on the bicycle! Sir! Current address, please.
The citation amount for bicycle violation for the bicycle rider, equipment, rule of the road violation is $88. For the motorist, the rule of the road violation is $101. Or it could be worse. If it's done negligently or recklessly, it could be up to $538.
When motorists respect cyclists' right to use the roadway and cyclists follow the rules of the road, we are all safer. We want motorists and cyclists to feel comfortable using the roadway, and we hope this information has made it easier for everyone to share the road.
For more information about bike safety or to request a Share the Road brochure, you can contact Kim Brown at 676-6961 or email her at bikehead@cob.org. We hope you enjoyed our show from the Guide Meridian Cordata neighborhood. Our goal is to keep you informed about what's going on around Bellingham. A great place to walk a trail, ride a bike, or just loaf around, which is what I do best. If you have feedback or ideas, we would really love to hear from you. You can reach us through our website or directly via email. It's springtime. Take the cat for a walk. Break out the barbecue. Get some sunshine. Whenever it happens, on your rain-drenched head, for goodness sake. Walk around some of our neighborhoods. Enjoy our community. There's so much to appreciate. I'm Doug Waldo. Thanks for watching.